Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, Prahlad, the best amongst exalted devotees, and we'll just read the translation for 41. Everything you ask about how Shishupal and others attained salvation, although they were inimical, has now been explained to you by me. Text 42. Esha Brahmanya Devasya Krishnasya cha Mahatmanaha Avatara Kata Punya Vado Yatradi Daityayo Esha Brahmanya Devasya Krishnasya cha Mahatmanaha Avatara Kata Punya Vado Yatradi Daityayo Esha Brahmanya Devasya Krishnasya cha Mahatmanaha Avatara Kata Punya Vado Yatradi Daityayo Esha Brahmanya Devasya Krishnasya cha Mahatmanaha Avatara Kata Punya Vado Yatradi Daityayo Esha Brahmanya Devasya Krishnasya cha Mahatmanaha Avatara Kata Punya Vado Yatradi Daityayo Esha, all this, Brahmanya Devasya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by all Brahmanas. Krishnasya, of Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Cha, also, Maha Atmanaha, the Super Soul. Avatara Kata, narrations about his incarnations. Punya, pious, purifying. Vadaha, killing. Yatra, here, wherein. Adi, in the beginning of the millennium. Daityayo, of the demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In this narration about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, various expansions or incarnations of the Lord have been described. And the killing of the two demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, has also been described. Purport. Avatars or incarnations or expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Govinda. Advaitam Achyutam Anadimanantarupam Adyam Parana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamahang Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who is the original person, non-dual, infallible, and without beginning. Although he expands into unlimited forms, he is still the original, and although he is the oldest person, he always appears as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, and all-knowing forms of the Lord cannot be understood by the academic wisdom of the Vedas, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. Brahma Samhita 5.33. The Brahma Samhita describes the avatars. Indeed, all the avatars are described in the authentic scriptures. No one can become an avatar incarnation, although this has become fashionable in the age of Kali. The avatars are described in the authentic scriptures, shastras, and therefore before one risks accepting a pretender as an avatar, one should refer to the shastras. The shastras say everywhere that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead and that he has innumerable avatars or incarnations. Elsewhere in the Brahma Samhita it is said, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamaina Tishtan. Rama, Nrsimha, Raha, and many others are consecutive expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After Krishna comes Balaram. After Balaram is Sankarshan, then Aniruddha, Pradumya, Narayan, and then the Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Gavadakashaya Vishnu, and Shiradakashaya Vishnu. All of them are avatars. One must hear about the avatars. Narrations about such avatars are called Avatar Katha, the narrations of Krishna's expansions. Hearing and chanting about these narrations is completely pious. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. One who hears and chants can become punya, purified of material contamination. Whenever there are references to the avatars, religious principles are established, and demons who are against Krishna are killed. The Krishna consciousness movement is spreading all over the world with two aims: to establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to kill all the pretenders who falsely present themselves as avatars. The preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement must carry out this conviction very carefully within their hearts and kill the demons who in many tactful ways vilify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Did everyone hear that? The preachers, if we take shelter of Nrsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj, it will be easier to kill the demons who are against Krishna. Otherwise, it's a little difficult. And to reestablish Krishna's supremacy. Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Lord, the original Lord. Prahlad Maharaj is our Guru, and Krishna is our worshipful God. As advised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. If we can be successful in getting the mercy of Prahlad Maharaj and also that of Nrsimhadev, then our Krishna consciousness movement will be extremely successful. The demon Hiranyakashipu had so many ways to try to become God himself, but although Prahlad was chastised and threatened in many ways, he rigidly refused to accept his powerful demoniac father as God. Following the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, we should reject all the rascals who pretend to be God. We must accept Krishna and his incarnations and no one else. In this narration about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, various expansions and incarnations of the Lord have been described, and the killing of the two demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, have been described. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastavute Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddharane. Number of things are mentioned in this purport. Of course, I think we heard that we're supposed to kill the demons. And the second thing is that it's important to hear about the avatars, especially the Purusha avatars. How they're creating, maintaining, and annihilating this universe. And that whenever Krishna comes, he has a mission. Pritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya tadiskritam, dharma samstapanartaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna comes to annihilate the demons, to protect the devotees and to reestablish religious principles. Lucky in this age, we don't have to kill demons. We have to kill the demoniac mentality because the incarnation of this age is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Previously, Krishna came as Krishna, and there were a lot of fights between Krishna and the demons. Whether it was Kali Yavana with his 32 million Yavanas, or we have, so many demons came and went. What was his name? Jarasandha came 18 times, and Krishna killed all his army 17 times. So it appears that Krishna mostly was killing people. Once in a while, kidnapping some lady to marry her, but mostly his job was killing people. But in this age, if Krishna came and killed people, then there would be no one left. There would be no one to preach to because everyone would be dead, including ourselves. So Krishna comes to kill the demoniac mentality. He doesn't come to kill people's physical body because, practically speaking, in this age, everyone's body is already finished. We already mentioned the body's already dead, but sometimes the body has some potency to do something. That is, but in this age, tatas shnudinam dharma, satyam socham dayashama, balena kaliyar rajan nakshatya yor bulam smriti. Then this age, every day passes, tatas shnudinam dharma, and dharma is going down and down and down. Satyam, Socham, truthfulness, cleanliness, the two main Brahminical principles are disappearing. Daya, mercy, and Shama, forgiveness, tolerance, these are practically non-existent. Balena Kaliyara Rajan, by the strong force of Kali Yuga, Nakshantya Yor Balam Smriti, people who lose their body strength and their memory. Forget what comes after that, because I'm losing my memory. No. So every day, these things will diminish. Smritir, Bala, Shema, Socham. And therefore, people are practically already dead, although they're moving, in their body is somewhat moving, but their consciousness is practically non-existent, their actual consciousness. Therefore, Krishna comes to establish the Sankirtan movement by giving people Krishna's association through the holy names. They can come to life again. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sara Kavanoi Shravanadi Shudachite Karya Udoi. That Nitya Siddha, everyone is potentially a pure devotee. By nature, we're all liberated souls. And we all have by nature Krishna Prema. It's normal. When the spark goes into the fire, it glows. It doesn't have to take a course on glowing. It happens spontaneously. Similarly, when one actually becomes awakened to Krishna consciousness, then one falls in love with Krishna. And how Shravanadi, Shudachite, Karya Udoi. So it begins with just hearing about Krishna from the right source with the right attitude. But it's mentioned here that we should hear from Krishna from the beginning. We have the first canto, and in the first canto, the basic, especially in the second chapter of the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, basically all the questions are answered by the sages of Naimisharanya, plus the rest of the Bhagavatam is also an answer to those basic questions. And then we have an introduction to who Krishna is, his entrance into Dwarka, Vyasadev's meditation on Krishna, his despondency, and therefore writing Srimad Bhagavatam. We have the Kali, age of Kali, the Pariksha Maharaj being cursed by a Brahmin boy. Krishna is entering into Dwarka. So there are many things in the first canto, But ultimately, the second canto begins with the description of the avatars. And Prabhupada said it's more important to hear about the avatars in the external energy than to hear about Krishna in the internal energy. Because we have usually little access to understand Krishna in the internal energy. But we have full experience of Krishna in the external energy. We're seeing every day, every moment, how the material nature is working under the avatar's control. How the laws of karma are being enacted. How birth, death, old age, and disease is going on. How there are 8,400,000 species of life. These are all elaborated in the third canto. But in the second chapter, it describes about the Purusha avatars who are responsible for all this. We think it's all coming about by accident, that it's out of control. Well, we're out of control, but everything else is in control. And when we're in control, then we can actually see how it's all being controlled by Krishna. Therefore, when one can see like that, then one will not lament over loss or become jubilant over gain. Nor will one discriminate between this is a American or a Slovenian or Russian or whatever. One will see that actually these bodies are superfluous, that actually the entity, the spiritual being is eternal and beyond the material energy. So that comes from studying how Krishna is working in the material world and becoming free from the influence of the three modes of material nature, which is also part of the material world. If we try to enter into Krishna's internal energy while we're under the three modes of material nature, we won't actually get exactly the transcendental experience we're looking for. But if we take shelter of Krishna's instructions and become elevated to the mode of goodness, then everything will become clear and we can perform our devotional service with full concentration and without any distraction, and therefore become actually successful. So Krishna is sending the avatars in order to teach us this. And of course, in this age, Krishna sent Chaitanya, he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us how to perform sacrifice for the Kali Yuga, how to perform devotional activities for the Kali Yuga, or at least, as Prabhupada said, how to work in the material world so at least we get rain, so we get something to eat. That we can't take it for granted that rain will come, or that the amount of rain will come. Often there's too much rain or too little rain. But the right amount is necessary for the proper growth of food, and without food, we're not going to be able to concentrate very well on Krishna. And anyhow, people worship Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Krishna in this age. At least they'll get something to eat, which is an important aspect. But it's also the opportunity for those who are interested to go beyond the modes of material nature, to become directly associated with Krishna through the Sankirtan movement. So it's for those who are serious about spiritual life, is a great opportunity to make progress and therefore kill our demoniac mentality and even help erase other people's demoniac mentality by bringing Krishna into this world, practically speaking. Wherever Krishna is, then all sinful reactions, all sinful conceptions will go away, and we'll be able to see Krishna and ourselves and everything else as they actually are, and experience great transcendental bliss and ecstasy and love, because that's what Krishna is, and that's what Krishna associates are. The constant exchange of transcendental emotions and relationships. So, Prahlad Maharaj was still in the seventh canto. We're not in the internal pastimes, and Krishna is in the internal energy. And therefore, we can take shelter of Prahlad Maharaj. How, when he was in great difficulty, he was taking shelter of Lord Nrsingadev. That he didn't lose anything by taking shelter of Lord Nrsingadev. Instead, he became perfect in Krishna consciousness. All the troubles that he was put to, served to strengthen his Krishna consciousness, and therefore we're actually auspicious. On the other hand, if someone is put into great happiness in the material world, then it may be very inauspicious because it usually causes one to go far away from Krishna and to believe that one can be happy without Krishna. Therefore, Krishna has arranged Kali Yuga in such a way that everyone is suffering all the time. Just a question of what degree we're suffering. When we're suffering to a little bit less, we call that happiness. And when we're suffering a little bit more, we call that suffering. But it's all suffering. Everything is polluted. The air is polluted. The food's polluted. The water is polluted. People's minds are polluted. There's nothing that's pure in this age, and therefore there's nothing which is actually satisfying. But if we take to Krishna consciousness and we tolerate the problems that are going on within ourselves especially, because that's where the real problems are, is ourselves. And then if we can tolerate our own problems, then we can tolerate everyone else's problem. If we think everyone else has a problem except for us, that's our problem. That's our main problem. And when we can tolerate our own problems, then we can automatically understand how we should tolerate everyone else's problem. Then we can concentrate on Krishna and not become deviated from our actual mission in life, our actual purpose of existence. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So sometimes we see that even when we are faced with distress, we take, instead of taking shelter of Krishna, we take shelter of the illusory energy. So what will help us make the right decision? What will help us choose?
Well, the illusory energy will help us. She'll make us even more miserable than we normally would be. And the more we take shelter of her, then the more she'll make us more and more miserable. So that's impetus to finally wake up and say, this is not a good idea. It doesn't look like Maya is giving me very good shelter. I should try to take shelter of Krishna. So that's how the material nature works. It's always inspiring us to take shelter of Krishna, either by offering us some transcendental reward by turning into the spiritual energy, the internal energy, or chastising us by acting as the external energy and telling us you'll never be happy unless you become Krishna conscious. So there's no other way. Especially for one who knows what the goal of life is, then the illusory energy becomes a friend. In the sense that material nature, its chastisements or impetuses to make advancement in spiritual life. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premananda.